take his phone, start going through it. They don't have one for Trey?
Man brought his phone.
Do y'all have his name tag for Trey?
He's private.
You always see them on Black Trey name tag. Slide that shit in there, boy.
They must have Steven on all of them at first. I would change them.
That's some shit John would do that. John would be like, yeah, make sure you put Steven on all this stuff. Mine would be like Alexander.
Is that your real name? Alexander?
Yep.
Cool.
That's dope.
All right. Welcome the student athletes from the Creighton Blue Jays, Mr. Fiesel, Mr. O'Connell, Mr. Hawkins, and Mr. Alexander. Take questions in the room and then move to questions from Zoom if there are any. Be sure to raise your hand virtually so we know to call on you. Start with questions in the room. Right-hand side next to last row.
Keyshawn, with Kalkbrenner going down, you stepping up, making that block last night, and now likely to start tomorrow. Just what has this kind of journey up until this point in your career, transferring to Creighton and getting this opportunity, kind of been like for you?
Well, it's kind of, sad that he went down the way he did, but it's kind of, what we've been doing all year, just figuring it out, next man up. We've been battling injuries and adversity all year, so we've been figuring it out to this point. I feel like we're going to continue to do the same thing and, just keep going.
In the back.
Another one for Keyshawn. How many minutes do you think you can play tomorrow, and what are the most minutes that you've ever played in a college game before?
Well, I've played 40 minutes in a game a few times last year at McNeese, but I feel like I can, I've been, trying to stay in shape, just in case, something like this was to happen. So I feel like I'm prepared to play as many minutes as possible.
On the left-hand side in the middle.
Keyshawn, when Kalk goes down last night, what's going through your mind in that moment?
Well, in that moment, I was just trying to see what was going on, worried about my teammate, my brother. But, after that, just being mentally, prepared throughout the whole game. So whenever it was my time to go in, I was ready. So.
Front row on the right.
Ryan, this question is for you. Obviously, in Kansas City, we got a little familiar with you when you played at Northwest Missouri State. And just talk about how your transition from D2 to D1 was for you. It seems like you've been very successful and, averaging over 13 points a game. So how's that been for you, your transition?
I think the biggest thing was just getting comfortable and getting that confidence back. I was fortunate to play a very high level of D2 basketball. But everything's bigger, faster, and stronger at this level, and it took me a little bit to settle down and get used to that. But the biggest thing is I'm surrounded by great teammates and great coaching staff that just continue to put me in great situations, and that's really the secret to it all. There's not really making an adjustment to anything. It's just being surrounded by a lot of good people.
Staying in the front row.
For Trey and for Alex, what are the intangibles for this team that maybe don't show up on the stat sheet that describe how the success this team has had?
Trey, you can start.
I feel like the main thing is that obviously, as you can see, we're very close-knit as a team. Like even when Kalkbrenner went down last night, or when we're down by 7 with about 2 minutes left, we were all kind of huddled up, knew that we could win the game, and knew what we had to do, figured out what we had to do, what adjustments we had to make to win the game, and be able to just keep surviving and keep doing what we had to do. Like Keyshawn said earlier, we've had to kind of have that next man up mentality all year. So I feel like, obviously Keyshawn's ready to step into the role, but I feel like just the way that we know how to play with each other and know everybody on our team is playing for the guy next to us is really the big secret.
Alex?
I think Trey hit it right on the head. Just understanding that each guy 1 through 15 is equally important, and every guy knowing that their chance could come the next night. Like Keyshawn, for example. I've been in that role where you don't really know what's going to happen. So just staying ready and knowing that the next game could be your night, and you never know when it's going to take its.
Well, questions for the student athletes back on the left-hand side.
This one's for Ryan. When Keyshawn when Ryan sort of made his ascension this year, and Keyshawn was playing more spot minutes, how did you see him sort of keep a healthy mindset and stay prepared for a moment like this?
Yeah, his attitude and his approach to practice never wavered. He's one of those guys you'd never guess what was going on the basketball floor just by the way he showed up every single day. And I think that speaks a lot about his leadership that he brings to the team. He's really good at leading by example, bringing that same energy every day and showing the freshmen what it means to work every single day, especially when you don't know what your reward's going to be. And that's just been really cool to see Keyshawn really embrace that role.
Second row on the right.
Alex and Trey, just from what you've seen of Kansas so far, what stands out about what you're going to have to do against them?
Alex?
I mean, yeah, we're watching film. We have a short turnaround for the game, so I mean, just watching film and trying to make and just handle their pressure and just be ready for everything that they're bringing. They're a tough, talented team. They got a lot of depth. They're long and athletic, so for us just to continue and play with the resilience that we have is going to be pretty key for this next game.
I feel like it's a big personnel game for us. I feel like we have to know what guys have what strengths and what guys have what weaknesses. I feel like for us being kind of short-handed right now, we have to be able to play at our pace but also be smart with the way that we play. Can't really have guys in foul trouble like we did last night or have anybody on the bench that we need in a critical time like we did last night. So I feel like it's more of a personnel game for us and more of a game of where we have to kind of pick and choose what we can do throughout the game.
Right-hand side.
Mark, I got to ask you about the bathroom.
Oh, shit.
Has that always been a thing?
No.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Not the back row.
Where did that start and when did it start to become like a joke of Coach Mac taking pictures at practice and stuff like that?
It started at the hotel in New York. Alex and my roommate on the road and opened the closet door, just like kind of exploring the room, and really soft robe. Wore it for a few days there, and felt like we had a little good thing going, and then I thought, why not? I mean, exploring this hotel and had a robe sitting there in the closet. So I don't know if it's as much as a joke as it is a comfort thing, but look good, feel good, play good.
Yeah,
The funniest part was
Mac
his
is very
reaction when he
superstitious.
saw that the robe was in the closet. What was that today, right? When he saw the robe in the closet today, it was hilarious.
Left-hand side, second row.
For Alex, you've seen Kansas in the past, and I think you just missed it by like a couple weeks last year or something. Yeah. I wonder if that can help your team. I wonder if that can help you, especially last year, if you saw any film, even though you didn't get to play against them. I mean, is there familiarity there? Does that help?
Yeah, I think it was my junior year at Duke that I played against them in the Garden. So, and they have a lot of those same players that are returning. I know Remy's new. A couple of the transfers are new. So, yeah, I mean, I think that experience can definitely help. I mean, like Trey said, it's a personnel game, knowing who does what. So if we're able to handle that and, handle their pressure, like I said, I think we should be all right. Keep it a close game.
Front row on the right.
Keyshawn, you played 3 minutes in an NCAA tournament game when you were at Mississippi State a couple years back. You played, obviously, last night, and now this situation. What does this role and opportunity mean for you in your basketball career?
I mean, it's pretty dope, First year in the tournament, I lost. Like you said, I played 3 minutes. So just coming back here, to the tournament and getting a win was, like, big for me. And, to do it with these group of guys was, like, really special. So, just taking it in, just keep bringing what I can bring and keep moving forward.
Trey, do you guys feel like you can just kind of play loose, knowing that a lot of the pressure is probably going to be on Kansas being the favorite tomorrow?
Yeah, I feel like that's been one of the biggest advantages for us all year. Going to the Big East tournament, we were the 4th seed. We played against a very good Marquette team first round, and then the second round, like we knew that all the pressure was on Providence, that they were the number 1 seed. They beat us pretty bad at their house, so we knew that we had all the pressure on them. We used it to our advantage. So I mean, it's not that much of a difference this game. I mean, we obviously are playing against a very good team that is a good number 1 seed, but we feel like all the pressure is on them, and we just are going to play the way we know how to play, as free as we can, and play as hard as we can, and try to just play with as much confidence and play play our roles to the best of our abilities.
Back to the left.
Keyshawn, Max said last night that he didn't lie to you during the recruiting process, but what he told you might happen didn't end up happening. That can go a lot of different ways for different players. Why didn't you cause a fuss? Why did you handle that the way you did?
Well, I would say like just handling adversity throughout my career. I've had injuries, playing roles was like not what I wanted to be just as a younger teenager. But as I got older, I just realized, being stable mentally is like one of the most important things. Like basketball is physical, but like it's more mental than anything. So the mental aspect, really helped me out, and just having a good perspective on everything, throughout life is important. So, yeah.
All the way to the back on the right.
As for Hawk, 3 of the 4 of you were not on this team last year. Do you ever take a step back for a moment and think about what you guys have accomplished going back 10 months, coming together and making it to this point?
Yeah, it's obviously unheard of almost, but it makes it kind of difficult too, because you can't like go back and look at what you did last year against the team and like what worked, what didn't, when it's completely new faces and a new group out there. But I think it's also been really cool to see how this group can come together, coming into a locker room, complete strangers in June and July to, Christmas break, getting games canceled because of COVID. You don't get a chance to have those 2-3 weeks where you're on campus just with your team. That's when you really get to know each other and get a lot closer. So we had to kind of wait for that growth to come in the middle of January, and then you saw that result come February. And, I said it on senior night that if you looked at this group on senior night compared to our first game at home, you would have never guessed it was the same year and the same team. And so just to see that growth and that maturity across the board has been unbelievable, and I'm very thankful to be a part of it.
Back on the front row.
Alex, you guys have a 7-man rotation. KU likes to run in transition. How do you prepare to manage your minutes and your conditioning when you play games against opponents like that?
I think this late in the season, I don't really think it's much of a question of managing it. It's kind of, leave it all out there because it could be your last game. So, I mean, yeah, we're short a guy now, but, we've been playing these fast-paced games all year, so our guys are in pretty good shape. And, we might be a little tired. Our bodies might be a little tired, but, it could be it's one and done in the tournament. So we're going to empty the tank, so we're going to leave it all out there regardless of the outcome.
Questions for the student athletes?
For Hawk and Keyshawn, Kansas has some pretty impressive offensive rebounding numbers. When you guys watch them, what makes them so good on the offensive glass?
Ryan, you can start.
Their commitment, honestly, their tenacity of going to the boards. You watch film and they got 2-3 guys every possession flying in. It's not like they're just taking 1-2 steps. Oh, I might be able to get that. They're going in there with the intention of getting that ball. And so that's where you just have to be disciplined, and you got to have all 5 guys take care of your man. And if your man's not crashing, you go find somebody to get a body on. And I think that'll be a big key for us, is keeping them off of that glass, especially with how much they like to get out and run in transition. We like to do that same thing too. So if they've got 2-3 guys committed to the glass, we might be able to get numbers there.
Yeah, like Hawk said, they just really have it on their mind to get to the glass. So it's really a technique thing, get lower, low center of gravity, and, block them out.
We have time for 2 more student athletes. All right. Do we see any? No? Not seeing any? We'll let you guys go. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome Coach Greg McDermott from the Creighton Blue Jays. After an opening statement, we'll take questions in the room, and we will take questions on Zoom if there are any. Please be sure to raise your hand virtually so we know to call on you. Coach McDermott.
Well, obviously, we've got a heck of a challenge ahead of us. Not only playing a team as good as Kansas and as well coached as they are by Coach Self, doing it without the anchor of our defense obviously provides a lot of challenges. So, but obviously we're excited to be in this position, excited to play the game. Our guys aren't afraid of anything. They haven't been all year, and they've had a crazy way of responding to adversity all season long, and I'm not sure I've ever experienced anything quite like it. So I wouldn't count us out because of that. So we're fired up to play, and we're in a position with the short bench that we're just going to let it rip and see what happens. But we're going to have to be on point. We're going to have to be focused for 40 minutes, try to control their transition game, and obviously their ability to throw it into McCormick against a short bench on our part is going to be important for us to try to keep it out of there. So we're thrilled to be playing on Saturday, and look forward to seeing what's going to happen.
All right. Start in the far back on the right side.
Mac, three of the four players that were just up here weren't on this team last year. They continue to talk about fighting for their teammates. How have you been able to breed this culture where they're able to accomplish the things that they have?
Well, this culture isn't new. We've worked on it for 12 years, and it's gratifying that you can lose what we lost last year and maintain your culture. And I think you maintain the culture by recruiting the right people. And we've been able to do that, and you've had an opportunity to talk to them the last few days and watch them play. I've got great young men on this team, and they really, truly care about each other. And I think that's been evident through some of the injuries that we've been, the genuine concern that they have for their teammates when that happens has really brought our team even closer together. And, we're going to play tomorrow with 3 transfers, 2 that are in their first year, and Alex in his second year, and 4 freshmen. That's all we have left for scholarship players. But they're going to give their teammate their best shot. I know that for a fact.
Right-hand side.
Mac, do you expect Keyshawn to rise to the occasion tomorrow?
He rose to the occasion yesterday. When Ryan went down, we changed our ball screen coverage. We switched some stuff. He had a huge block against Bradley at a critical time in that game, knocked the ball loose defensively, stepped up and hit that free throw late. So he's prepared himself for this moment. Now, it's a big stage, obviously. But fortunately, we have a guy that's in his 5th year, that's played a lot of college basketball, that has done everything right this season. And by doing everything right, you're always preparing yourself for the what-ifs. Well, the what-if is here. So, I'm confident that he's ready for that. Obviously, I've got to manage his minutes. He hasn't played significant minutes in a row, so obviously that can impact your conditioning some. So, I have to use the timeouts to make sure he gets some rest and try to get him off the floor a minute here and a minute there. But his teammates certainly believe in him, as do I.
Well, questions for Coach? Sorry, front row on the right.
How much have you replayed that shot by Jalen Wilson last year?
What's that?
How often have you replayed that shot by Jalen Wilson last year?
Yeah, that wasn't ideal, but it was a heck of a game, and and because of that, at least as a coaching staff, we have some familiarity with that game. There's nobody on our team now that Kalkbrenner's hurt that played in that game, and it was only last November, December, whatever it was. But Jalen's a really good player, and obviously their wings and Abaji and Brown are really a tough matchup for us and tough matchup for anybody. And then Bill just does such a great job having him prepared defensively. So it's they're one of the best programs in college basketball, and any time you have an opportunity to kind of test your mettle against a team like that, it's a lot of fun.
Left-hand side.
Yeah, given that you saw them last year, how different do they look? How similar do they look?
Yeah, it's McCormick, I think, has made strides from the beginning of last year, and he actually played pretty well against us in that game. Abaji's made a jump. Christian Brown's made a jump. Jalen hasn't shot the ball from the three-point line like he did against us last year, at least to this point in the season, but we know he's capable. And then, the point guard situation, Remy Martin's a nice changeup from Harris. They have different skill sets. They bring different things to the table. So, I coached against Bill a lot when I was at Iowa State. I didn't have a lot of fun doing that, but things haven't changed. They're just really well coached. There's great pace to what they do in the full court and in the quarter court. And then defensively, he always has a great plan. So, we're going to have to be at our best, but the reality of it is whoever you're playing this time of the year, you better be at your best or you're going to be on your way home.
Stay on the left.
Hey, Coach, you talked about the challenges tomorrow. Are there one or two things that you guys absolutely have to do? And I know it's a short turnaround, not a lot of bodies. Are there one or two things that stand out about this team that concern you going into the game in terms of Kansas?
Yeah, I think we have to try to slow that transition game the best we can. And, rebounding is going to be an important part of this. And then, let's face it, we have not shot the three-point shot well in the championship game in New York City and yesterday. We're going to have to make some of those, because at times we're going to have to play a smaller lineup, and there's an opportunity there to spread them out. And if you're going to spread them out, you got to make some threes. So, we're going to have to knock some of those down tomorrow.
Okay. Back on the right.
Mac, I wanted to ask your thoughts on the bathrobe that Ryan Hawkins has shown up in. And maybe is that just an example of how loose the guys have been?
I think he's pretty comfortable in his own skin, is what I would say. He showed up in New York. I just turned over my shoulder, and there he stood in the hotel bathrobe at the line of the breakfast buffet, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. So I was able to click a photo of it, and I guess it's carried over to Fort Worth. So, but it's just this has been such a fun group, and our fans that have followed us from the start. There's just been so many positive changes that have taken place since November, and there's some stuff that's happened this year where there's been a lot of laughs, and there's been some things that have happened where there's been a lot of tears because of some of the injuries to some of these guys, and every emotion you can imagine in between. And when that happens, you really become close to a group of people, and this group is really, really close. Like I said when I talked to you a couple days ago, I'm not ready for it to end because it's been such a pleasure to be part of this ride with this group.
Far back, right side.
Related to those tiers, do you have any update on Ryan? I know it was 18 hours since you were last in here.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. The injury was not as significant as we first thought. I think we all thought it was ACL, and it is not. So there's some damage there, but it's not going to require surgery and 2 to 3 month recovery time. I wish it was 2 to 3 hours, but it's 2 to 3 months. If there's a silver lining, the news we got this morning, I think, was uplifting to Ryan and his teammates that he'll be back in the court sometime this summer.
Okay. We'll go to the Zoom for Dave Stewart.
Coach, you were pretty emotional after the game last night. Talking about Ryan, what's his contribution to his team meant beyond awards and just the stats page?
So that's a hard one to even know where to begin to start. We not often do you build your defense around one guy, and we've totally changed what we've done defensively in the past because of his skill set and his ability to anchor our defense at the basket and anchor it with intelligence. He's only had 4 fouls in one game all season. He's one of the best shot blockers in the country, but he's able to do it and understand when he needs to leave the ground, when he doesn't. He's been a great rebounder, and then offensively, he's made unbelievable strides. A guy that we can throw it to when we need a basket or to draw attention. He had a great kick out to Trey on the little floater that tied the game right before overtime. They came with a double team. He kicked it out. Trey was able to get downhill and hit the shot to tie it. But his growth from a confidence standpoint in himself, his belief in himself, and just his personality, just to see the real Ryan kind of come through, has been a lot of fun, not just for me to see, but you heard his teammates last night. Not often do you have three guys say he's one of the best teammates I've ever played with. And that is true. They weren't saying that because he was hurt and they felt sorry for him. They were saying it because it was absolutely the truth. Ryan has zero agenda for himself. Zero. He doesn't spend one day thinking about what's in it for me. His time is spent on what can I do to impact the team in a positive way. And, 23 wins is what he's done. Getting us to the Big East Championship and anchoring the top defense in the Big East. That's what he's done. And it's been pretty cool to watch. And obviously we wish we had him tomorrow. But like I said, I'm ecstatic that the news was not as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Front row on the right.
Greg, you mentioned that the damage wasn't to the ACL. What was damage then in his knee?
I'm not 100% sure. I just know it's not ACL, and I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to try to speak on it. I just know sometime this summer he'll be back and he doesn't need surgery.
And then you mentioned the culture and the chemistry when it comes to Keyshawn. You said yesterday that it could have been hard for him to handle that role this year given Ryan's emergence. What is it about his character and his personality that let him do that and not be a distraction?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He's come to work every day. He's had a positive attitude, and his, Hawk's been a little more vocal in his first year than Keyshawn has, but Hawk also is in a role that everybody'd like to be in. Right now he's playing every minute because we really don't have anybody else. And Keyshawn's the same age and has gone on a similar path where he's played 4 years of college basketball. And he's been able to show his younger teammates how to handle when things aren't exactly the way you wish they were, but how to make the best of that and also how to prepare yourself for the day when something changes and you're going to be ready. And obviously his mentorship, I would think, has had a huge impact on Trey Alexander's ability to emerge in the role that we've asked him to play after Nemhart's injury. So Keyshawn has his fingerprints all over these younger guys in terms of helping with their development and because what's said in the locker room, that's how teams grow. And you're either trying to be uplifting to your teammates or you're trying to pull somebody down with you. And I can't think of one example this year where Keyshawn has hung his head and tried to pull somebody down in a negative sense because he didn't like the role that he was playing. I said it last night. I think that's why he played so well late in that game, is because he's done everything that he needed to do to prepare himself for that.
On the left in the back.
How might the defense look differently, if at all, with Keyshawn in place of Kalk?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be different. Keyshawn's skill set is different than Ryan's. Ryan's not only the best on our team at protecting the rim, he's one of the best in the country. So to think that anybody's going to go into that role and it's going to look the same would not be fair to Keyshawn. So, we're going to have to change as the game goes on, and we see, what Kansas is trying to do to exploit what we're doing in our coverages. But Keyshawn also is athletic enough that we can switch up some coverages and maybe apply a little bit more pressure at times. So, I think you'll see us changing from timeout to timeout because of his skill set.
Right side, front row.
With a reshaped roster and an overhauled starting lineup, what were some of the growing pains and when did it all click?
We've talked about process the whole year from the start, even when we were struggling. And I mentioned in the press conference last night, our first 3 bye games, we trailed at halftime in all 3 of them and found a way to come back and win. And after all those games, and the loss to Iowa State, the loss to Colorado State, tough loss to Arizona State at home, we talked about process and the importance of us getting back to work and taking what we could from a loss and learning from it, but also being mature enough to understand when you win, you've got to be able to pull those same mistakes out of a victory and learn from them just like you would in a loss. And this team wasn't great at that in November and December and even January. We didn't handle success very well. And I think when we won at UConn in early February with Kalkbrenner out of the game the last 15 minutes, I think something clicked. And we've been playing really good basketball ever since. So this team is, they've embraced the process. And I know that's maybe coach speak, but they've done it. And as a result, we've grown by leaps and bounds. And these guys are growing up right in front of our eyes. But there also is a connection that's formed in front of my eyes that has been really cool to be part of, because as you listen to them speak, they genuinely care about each other.
Back on the left.
I wonder, can Ryan have any role tomorrow? Will he be on the bench? Will he talk to the team? And what might that stuff mean to your guys, you think?
Yeah, he'll be there, and he's not real mobile right now, but his voice will be heard. Him and Rati are really close friends, so I might put him in charge of Rati in the game, which is sometimes can be quite a challenge once in a while, because usually when Rati goes in the game, something happens. You just don't know what it's going to be. But we'd be in deep trouble without Rati, and Ryan's friendship and mentorship of him has been really invaluable, because Rati's gone through some peaks and valleys and how much he played early in the season and how his role has changed because of some of the injuries to his teammates. And Ryan Kalkbrenner has been instrumental in helping Rati grow and have the right approach to your preparation. And I'll make sure they're sitting next to each other on the bench tomorrow.
Questions for Coach on the left.
What about Modestus? I mean, I know he hasn't played a ton this year, but like you said last night, you don't have a ton of options at this point. What role could he play?
Yeah, we used him some when Art was hurt for those 4 games, and he's got to be ready to go tomorrow. He's got to be ready to play some at either the power forward position or the center position, depending on the flow of the game and foul trouble and everything that goes with that. So he, like Rati, he's suffered an ACL injury last year, and it's taking him a little bit longer to come back from that than it has Rati. But I think he's in a good place right now. And obviously it's a huge stage to maybe throw a guy into, but he's ready for that, and he'll be on the floor tomorrow night.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.